Ever since Alex found the old VHS tapes in his attic, his life has been a waking nightmare. Alone in his apartment, haunted by shadows and whispers, he begins to realize that the smiling figure on the screen, Mickey, was never just a cartoon. And as the nights grow longer, Emily, his neighbor, starts noticing the strange reflections following him. But by the time they understand the truth, it might already be too late. I thought it would be a simple nostalgia trip. I had been cleaning out my attic when I stumbled across a stack of old VHS tapes, dusty and forgotten. The top one caught my eye immediately. Its cover had a smiling face I knew from childhood, Mickey Mouse, but something about it was off. The colors were faded, and the smile looked stretched, unnatural. I shrugged, thinking it was just the wear of time, and decided to watch it. I set the tape in the player, pressed play, and leaned back on the couch, expecting the innocent, cheerful cartoons I remembered. At first, it seemed normal. Mickey danced across the screen, cheerful music played, and bright colors filled the frame. But almost immediately, something felt wrong. The colors weren't bright. They were muted, decayed, as if they had been drained of life. The music slowed unnaturally in spots, stretching the cheerful notes into something that made my stomach twist. I leaned closer, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. Then I noticed his movements. Mickey's arms jerked stiffly like a puppet with broken strings. His head tilted at unnatural angles, and every so often his body froze mid-motion, as if stuck between frames. The most unsettling thing, though, were his eyes. I blinked, thinking it was the flickering of the old TV, but the eyes seemed to glimmer in the dim light of the room. They weren't just black. They seemed aware, intelligent, almost hungry. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just an old tape and my imagination running wild. But the more I watched, the harder it became to look away. Then came the laughter. At first it was soft, distorted, a high-pitched squeak, but it grew louder with each passing second. It didn't sound like the cheerful, cartoonish laugh I remembered. It was warped, echoing in a way that made the walls of my living room feel like they were closing in. My heart began to race. I reached for the remote to turn it off, but the buttons didn't respond. The tape kept rolling, looping the same few seconds over and over, each repetition making Mickey's smile wider, darker, more twisted. I noticed subtle differences each time it looped. His head would be slightly closer, his eyes sharper, and the corners of his mouth stretched further. A cold sweat ran down my back, and my legs felt frozen to the couch. I wanted to scream, to throw something at the TV, but my body wouldn't cooperate. I could only watch as that horrifying smile grew until it felt like it was reaching through the screen at me. Then, almost imperceptibly, the room went silent. The cheerful music and laughter stopped at once. All I could hear was the static hum of the old television. I leaned forward, heart hammering, and for a brief, terrifying moment, I could have sworn I saw him move outside the screen. His head tilted just slightly, just enough that I knew he was watching me. And I knew, deep in my gut, that this was only the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see those black, glimmering eyes staring at me from corners I knew were empty. Shadows seemed to stretch farther than they should, reaching toward me with quiet patience. Even the hum of the refrigerator sounded like a voice whispering just beyond comprehension. I told myself it was just fear, that it was impossible for a cartoon to come alive, but my gut refused to believe it. By morning, the VHS tape was back on my desk. I hadn't touched it, hadn't moved it. My hands trembled as I stared at it. How could it return? I wanted to burn it, smash it, do anything to get rid of it, but something held me back. Fear, maybe, or curiosity. I decided to at least examine it. The tape felt colder than it should, as if the plastic itself absorbed the warmth of my fingers. Tiny scratches ran along its surface, almost deliberate. Squinting closer, I realized the scratches weren't random. They formed a rough shape, jagged and unsettling. My heart pounded as I recognized it. Mickey's face, carved into the tape itself. I tried to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave me. The apartment felt different now, smaller, tighter, as though the walls had grown closer while I slept. Doors that I was sure I had locked creaked open without reason. I passed mirrors and thought I glimpsed movement behind me, but every time I turned, nothing was there. And yet I could feel eyes on me, following, tracking my every step. The worst moments were the nights. Scratching noises came from inside the walls, soft at first, patient, deliberate. Sometimes it was a slow drag, like claws across plaster. Other times it was frantic, sharp, as if something or someone was pacing behind the walls, waiting for me to notice. I couldn't stay in the living room. I moved to the kitchen, then the bedroom. But the scratching followed, circling, always just out of reach. Then came the whispers, soft at first, barely audible, blending into the hum of my apartment. They weren't words I could understand, just high-pitched squeaks, like a child trying to speak. But after a while, I heard my name, whispered clearly, deliberately, in a tone that made my blood run cold. "You're here. I see you." The voice didn't come from outside. It came from within, from the walls, from the corners, from inside my own head. I tried to leave. I grabbed my keys, threw open the door, ran down the stairs. But the hallway outside was empty, silent, and longer than it should have been. When I reached the street, I glanced back at the apartment building, and in the top window I saw him. Just a glimpse, white gloves, red shorts, but his head tilted unnaturally, and those black intelligent eyes pierced me through the glass. I ran, breathless, heart hammering, until the city swallowed him from sight. When I returned home hours later, exhausted, I found the tape waiting for me on my pillow. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I only stared. And for the first time, I understood. He wasn't just on the screen. He was inside the apartment. Inside me. Waiting. I thought leaving the apartment would help, but it didn't. I walked through the city streets, hoping the bright lights and bustling people would chase away the fear, but it followed me like a shadow that refused to be shaken. Every corner I turned, every alley I passed, I could feel the weight of those black, intelligent eyes on me. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it, that it was the panic and exhaustion talking, but deep down I knew it wasn't my imagination. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him again, just a flash of white gloves and red shorts. I froze, heart hammering. When I turned fully, he was there, standing in the middle of a deserted street. His figure was taller than it should be, limbs stretching in impossible ways. His head tilted at an unnatural angle, and his black eyes gleamed with a cruel awareness, like he knew exactly what I was thinking. The streetlights reflected off the wet asphalt, and I could see his smile stretching impossibly wide, too wide for a face meant to be friendly. I ran. My shoes slipped on the wet pavement, my chest burned with exertion, and every step felt like I was sinking deeper into a nightmare. I didn't dare look behind me, but I could feel him there, gliding silently, always just a little behind, always moving, always watching. I darted into a narrow alley, hoping to lose him in the shadows, but then I stopped cold. The ground was littered with VHS tapes, dozens of them, cracked and dusty, scattered across the alley like fallen leaves. Each one bore that familiar, twisted, smiling face staring at me. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, and when I looked closer, I realized something even worse. The reflections in the shiny black plastic weren't just showing the tapes. They were showing me, my terrified face frozen mid-panic, staring back from every piece of tape. And behind me, always behind me, the silhouette of that impossible figure, growing closer with every reflection. I wanted to turn and run, but my legs refused to cooperate. I felt paralyzed by the knowledge that no matter where I went, he would follow. The alley seemed to stretch forever, shadows twisting and writhing like living things. The distant city noises faded, replaced by a low, rhythmic scraping, like claws dragging across concrete. My heart pounded in my ears. I tried to scream, but no sound came. Then I saw it, a single tape lying upright, spinning slowly in the rain, as though waiting for me. The screen flickered inside, glowing faintly, and on it, Mickey. No, not Mickey, something worse, staring directly at me. The smile was wider than any human mouth could stretch, the eyes black and knowing. And then I noticed the detail that made my stomach drop. The gloves on his hands were stained with red, the faint outline of fingernails pressed into the plastic like he had reached through it. I ran again, faster than I ever thought possible, and didn't stop until I found myself back at my apartment. But even inside, the sensation didn't leave. Shadows clung to corners, reflections shifted unnaturally, and I could hear that faint scratching, always coming from inside the walls. I realized with a sinking dread that leaving had done nothing. He was here. He had followed me home, and he was patient. I didn't know how long I had been pacing the apartment. Hours? Days? Time had become meaningless. Every reflective surface seemed alive. Mirrors, windows, the shiny screen of my phone, they all held him, always watching. The scratching from the walls never stopped. It wasn't loud, but it was deliberate, patient, like something pacing just out of reach, studying me. I could feel it in my bones, a pressure pressing down, heavier than the walls themselves. I tried to convince myself I could fight back. I barricaded the doors, shoved furniture in front of the closet, unplugged the TV, but it was useless. The feeling of being watched didn't fade. I didn't dare close my eyes. Every time I did, I could see him there, closer than before, his head tilting in that impossible way, eyes black and knowing. Then I noticed the closet door. It was slightly ajar, though I was certain I had shut it. I approached cautiously, every step making the hair on my neck stand on end. Inside, stacked neatly, were the VHS tapes. I had destroyed them, or so I thought. They weren't just there. They were perfectly organized, each one pristine, untouched. On the top, a note written in thick black ink. Don't sleep. Watch carefully. My hands shook as I picked up the top tape. The label had no words, only his twisted, smiling face. As soon as I touched it, movement shimmered inside the plastic. The screen glowed faintly, flickering. And then I saw him, not on the tape, but in the tiny reflection inside it. He waved slowly, deliberately, the gloves stretching unnaturally with each motion. His eyes weren't just watching me. They were calling me, pulling me in. I tried to throw the tape down, but it seemed glued to my fingers. Panic surged through me. I slammed it onto the floor. It bounced, spinning, and the screen glowed brighter. From the closet, I heard the slow creak of the door, as if someone, or something, was pushing it open from the inside. I backed away, heart hammering, but I didn't want to see what came next. Then it happened. The scratching stopped. Silence. The kind of silence that roars in your ears, pressing into your skull. And from the crack in the closet door, I saw two black dots glimmer. Tiny, perfect shining points that moved closer, inch by inch. The faint outline of white gloves appeared behind them, and my stomach dropped. It was patient, deliberate. It didn't rush. It didn't need to. It knew I couldn't escape. I felt my entire body freeze as the closet door creaked wider. I wanted to run, to scream, but my voice was gone. My limbs were gone. I could only watch as the darkness inside that small space began to stretch, and the scratching started again, this time faster, more urgent, almost desperate. And then a whisper, soft but clear, cut through the air. "I'm closer than you think." I stumbled back, tripping over furniture, my chest heaving. But when I looked up, the closet was empty. The tapes were gone. Only the faint smell of burnt plastic lingered in the air. I wanted to believe I was safe, that it had vanished, but deep down, I knew it hadn't. It was still there, always there, waiting. I don't know how long I've been trapped in my apartment. Days? Weeks? Time has no meaning anymore. I haven't slept. I haven't left. Every reflective surface, mirrors, windows, even the shiny finish of my furniture, holds him. Always him. Watching, waiting. The scratching behind the walls never stops, slow and deliberate, growing impatient when I linger too long in one spot. I try to ignore it, try to tell myself it's my imagination, but I know better. He's inside my life now, inside me. The VHS tapes keep appearing. On my desk, on my bed, even in my hands when I wake, though I swore I had destroyed them all. Their screens flicker faintly, glowing with that same twisted smile. I can't throw them away. I can't destroy them. Every time I try, I hear a soft squeak, a whisper in my ear. Don't stop watching. Last night, I thought I had enough courage to fight back. I grabbed the top tape and hurled it into the fireplace. The flames roared unnaturally high, black smoke curling into the ceiling like fingers. I pressed my face close to watch it burn, expecting it to melt away into nothing. Instead, I saw it. Something inside the flames moved, a face impossibly large, grotesque, smiling at me. The eyes glimmered black and alive. And then I felt it. Cold, gloved hands on my shoulders gripping tightly, pulling me backward. I spun, but there was no one there. Only the fire, only the smoke, only him. I ran to the mirror, desperate for answers, and froze. This time it wasn't Mickey. It was me. My own reflection twisted. My face stretched into an impossible smile. Black eyes staring back, glowing faintly in the dim light. I wanted to scream, but my voice refused to come. I touched the glass, but it wasn't cold. It was warm, breathing, alive. And the reflection didn't mirror me. It moved on its own. I realized something terrifying then. Maybe it had never been about him taking me. Maybe it had always been about reminding me, about revealing what I already was. I tried to step away, but my feet refused. My reflection leaned closer, tilting its head in that unnatural way, the black eyes boring into mine. You were waiting for me, it whispered, and somehow I knew it was right. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to myself. Every night the tapes appear again. The laughter echoes in the walls. The shadows twist, and the scratching grows closer. I feel him behind me constantly, inside me, guiding me, watching, waiting for the moment I finally stop resisting. And now, as I write this, I see it again in the mirror across the room. My own face smiles back at me, but it isn't mine. It's his. The black eyes gleam, wide and knowing, and for the first time, I feel it completely. I am no longer alone. I am him. Or maybe he is me. I don't know which is worse. I don't know if there's a way out. I only know one thing. When you look into a reflection, always pay attention. Because sometimes what's staring back isn't you.